uh, on Middos Aleph Dalet. There were 7 gateways in the courtyard, 3 in the north and 3 in the south, and 1 in the east, and 1 in the south was the Kindling gate, and the second was the gate of the firstborns, third to it was the water gate. In the east was the Nicanor gate, and this gate had 2 chambers, one to the right, one to the left. One was for the chamber of Pinchas, the other Pecholia, one was the chamber of the makers of the Chazitim. And those gateways in the north, the gateways of the Ray, and this gateway was like a pavilion, and a loft was built on top of it, so the Kohanim would stand guard above it and a Levium below. And it had an opening to the Kel. Second to it was the gate of the offering. Third to it was the hall of the fire. And there were 4 chambers in the hall of fire, like suites that opened into a ballroom. 2 chambers were located in a consecrated portion of the hall of fire, and 2 were located in a unconsecrated portion. And the ends of beams separated between the consecrated area and the unconsecrated area. And what purpose did these chambers serve? The southwestern chamber was the chamber of the sacrificial lambs. The southeastern chamber was the chamber of the makers of panim bread. The northeastern chamber was in it were the sons of the harmonium, concealed the stones of the altar. And the Greek kings had defiled. And the northwestern chamber, through it, the Kohanim would descend to the immersion room.
Okay, now let's do the ones that we did yesterday. So Dalet base.
Oh, did I start the wrong place?
Started the wrong place, but it's okay. No. We just did some extra Chazara. The Chazara is out of order. It's cool.
Okay, Dalet base. Okay. Okay. All right, so we have Chazara here too. The great gate had 2 minor doorways, one in the north and one in the south. The one to the south, no man ever entered through it. The reason for this is explained by Ezekiel, and as it is stated, and Hashem said to me, this gate shall be closed, it shall not be opened, the man shall not come through it, because Hashem, the gate guard of Israel, comes through it, it shall be closed. He took the key and opened the minor doorway and entered the cell. And from the cell he went to the Hakel. And Yehuda said he would walk within the thickness of the Hakel's wall until it had found standing between the Hakel's 2 set of doors, and he opened the outer doors from the inside and the inner doors from the outside. 38 cells were there, 15 in the north, 15 in the south, and 8 in the west, and those in the north and the south. 5 cells on top, 5 on the top of them, and those in the west, 3 cells on top of 3, and 2 on top of them. Each cell had 3 openings, one to the cell on the right, and one to the cell on the left, and one to the cell above it. But the cell in the northwest corner were 5 openings, one to the cell on the right, one to the cell above it, one to the winding ramp, and one to the minor doorway, and one to the Hakel. The cells of the bottom level were 5 amos wide, and with the ledge was 6 amos. The cells of the middle level were 6 amos, and with the ledge 7. The cells of the top level were 7, as stated. The lowest cell, 5 amos was its width, the middle one 6 was its width, and the third one 7 amos was its width.
Okay. Okay, now we talk about the Masiba. So, sorry, let me get my diagram out and share it again.
The first one that I did say, we're gonna continue with that tomorrow. Did I make a mistake?
Yeah, no, you read the right ones. Just keep your bookmark, put your bookmark in the right place, and we'll carry on tomorrow as we did. Okay. So here, let me zoom in as well.
Okay.
Okay, zoom, and yeah. All right. So the Masiba over here that you get into from this chamber here. Right. The Masiba over here is a path that goes around the outside. So the Masiba Haisa Olam Mikerin Mizrach Tzfon is from this northeastern corner. Okay. The Keren Tzfon Maravis went to the northwestern corner. Sheba Hayu Olim Le Gagos Hatayim, and this is where you get to the roofs of the storerooms. Right. And now he would climb up, go up here facing west. He'd get all the way to the west. And he turns left to face the south. Okay, so he walks along here. There's a passage that goes through here to get to this point over here. And now he faces east again. Okay, so this is a steadily climbing passage that takes him up to the very top of the building. And the opening to the roof is over here in the southeastern corner. there were two pillars of cypress wood, shibahen hayu olin legaga shel aliyah, basically a ladder that he could climb up onto the roof of the heichal over here. And on top of the aliyah, there were even tiles over there, so that he could tell where he was, ben kodesh to ben kodesh HaKodashim. So in this line over here, between the kodesh and the kodesh HaKodashim, so that he wouldn't accidentally walk into the airspace over the kodesh HaKodashim. And there were actually skylights in this area above the kodesh HaKodashim. Why do you need them? When there was maintenance that had to be done inside the Kodesh HaKodashim. It was still a building. It needed to be maintained, but how are the workmen going to get into a place where the Kohen Gadol is only allowed to go on Yom Kippur? Okay, so that what they did was they made boxes. They made these little box lifts that basically acted as an insulator from the Kedusha, so that the workmen could go down through there. They would lower them by I guess some sort of pulley system, these little crude elevators that they had going down there, so that they shouldn't and they would come out facing away from where the Aron stood in the middle over there, so that they shouldn't inappropriately gaze at the base Kodesh HaKodashim. The Heichal. Okay. So now, talking back on the dimensions of the Heichal itself, Meya al rum Meya. So this whole area over here is 100 by 100. Okay, and it's the height Meya al rum Meya, and it was 100 amas high as well. Now, just to put that into perspective, 100 amas is approximately 50 meters. Okay, and every floor in a building, let's just say for sake of scale, we're talking about roughly 3 meters. So a 50-meter building is approximately 16 stories high.
Okay.
That's big. Yeah.
But so I think how high that is compared to buildings I know, like in New York City or something.
Okay, it's not a skyscraper. It's not a New York skyscraper. But there are apartment buildings in places like Petach Tikva and whatever in Gush Dan area that are 16 floors or more. They're big buildings. Okay. Ha'otem sheish amos. So the otem is that's the closed building itself. Okay, v'govo arba imama. So that, in other words, the main height of the building, the main height of the hall over here is 40 amas. Amma kior, and then there was 1 amma of kior is what's the word for it? Pituchim v'kiurim shenasu al katalim lemala. So that basically there was you call it a ceiling inside there, but amasayim based zilfa, and 2 amas of the upper beams that joined the walls of the ceiling. Okay, the amma tikra, and again and now is an amma of ceiling. Okay, the amma mazeva, and another amma of plaster, I guess, on top of the ceiling. The gova shel aliyah arba imama, and then the attic is another 40 amas over there. Amma kior, and again another amma of let me just get the right word from my translation over here. And a decorative paneling, that's what it is. Decorative paneling, amma based dilfa, and another amma of wait. Amma kiur of amma time based dilfa. So 2 ammas of rafters, amma tikra, 1 amma of ceiling, amma mazeva, and again another amma of railing. The shalosh amos. Oh, so that its roof covering is mazeva, and v'shalosh amos ma'akeh. And then on the top, they had, because people are going onto the top, you have to have a ma'akeh, of course. Even in the base of Mikdash, there has to be a ma'akeh. So that's 3 amas high to protect of railing, to protect that people shouldn't chas v'shalom fall off. But ama kale orev, you know those fancy looking triangular spikes that you always see on the top there. It's basically pigeon proofing. Rabbi Yehuda Omer lo haya kale orev ole min hamidah. So Rabbi Yehuda says we don't count the pigeon proofing as part of the 100 amas. Ela arba amos haya makeh. Rather, the makeh was just an amma higher than what we've got over here. So we see, by the way, I'm just noticing again that Rabbi Yehuda is the big Baal Machlokas in Maseches Middos. I think the Stam Tana is Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and Rabbi Yehuda is coming and chiming in with his opinions of how things were in the Mikdash, which is very interesting, actually, on reflection, considering that Rabbi Yehuda never saw the temple.
Really? Wow.
He's a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva was at the Churban. And at what age was Rabbi Akiva at the Churban? It might be that as a young man, Rabbi Yehuda saw the base of Mikdash. But so okay, I'll have to put it that way. Anyway, back onto our Mishnah Zayin. Mizrach leMarav. Okay, so now going from east to west, it's 100 amas over there. So it's 100 from here to here, from the outside of the ulam. So if you look on the diagram over here, the ulam is the wide part in the front over here. This from here to here is 100 meters, is 100 amas. Okay. Kotel ha'ulam chamesh. The wall itself is 5 amas thick. Ba'ulam achat isrei, and from Mizrach to Marav, we're looking in this direction. We're on this axis over here. So the ulam itself, the wall again is 5 amas. The ulam itself is, we said, 11. Kotel ha'echal sheish. This wall here is 6. The tocho arba'im amah. So it's 40 amas to here. Amma tracks in. There was a gap of 1 amma in between these curtains. Right? We have the 2 curtains that divide between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKodeshim, and they're 1 amma apart. The Esrim amma base Kodesh HaKodeshim, and the Kodesh HaKodeshim is 20 ammas deep. And we have Kotel HaHechal Sheish. Again, this wall here is another 6. But Ta Sheish, the chamber over here is 6. The Kotel Hata Chamesh, and this outer wall is now 5. Minatzafon Darom. Okay, in this direction over here. Now going from north to south. Shivim Amma. This over here is 70 ammas. Okay, and we're talking about from the Heichal itself. We're not talking about the Ulam. The Ulam here is 100 ammas from here to here. So if you draw a line around the outside, it's a square. 100, 100, 100, but the narrow part over here is 70 ammas wide. So you got 15 ammas on each side of gap. Okay, so the Masibah is the wall of the Masibah here is 5. The Masibah itself is 3. The Kotel Atah is 5. So this is 5 again over here. The Tashesh and the storeroom is 6. Kotel Hechal Shesh. This wall is 6. Tocha is Shem Amma, so it's 20 ammas wide over here. Kotel HaHechal Shesh, once again 6, and Hatah Shesh, and this and the chamber itself is 6. The Kotel Hatah Chamesh, and here we have 5. Okay, Ubeis Horadas Amayim Shalosh Amos. So basically underneath the Masibah. Again, it's basically the same as the Masibah on the other side. Is another 3 ammas. The Kotel Chamesh Amos, and the outer wall another 5 ammas. Okay. Ha'olam odef alav 15 amma min hatzafon ו-15 min hadorom. So this over here, the gap between the olam and the heichal is 15 ammas on either side. That makes up the extra 30. Hu haya nikra beis hachalifos. And this extra space over here is called the place of the place of the Beis HaChalifos. This is where they store the knives. Shesham gonzim es hasakinim. Ha'echal tsar me'acharav v'rachav milafanav. So it's narrower at the back and wider at the front. V'dome la'ari, in the shape of a crouching lion. Right, a lion. If you'd imagine a lion crouching towards its tail, it's narrow, and as it gets towards the front, you see it widening out. V'dome la'ari shenemar hoi Ariel Kirias Chana David. Says Yeshayahu, it's this comparison to a lion of a Yamaha Arit Tsar Me'acharav V'Rachav Milafanav. It's narrow at the back and wider in the front. Afahechal Tsar Me'acharav V'Rachav Milafanav. Similarly, the Heichal is narrow at the back and wider at the front. Okay. All right. Chazara Christos.
Okay, we have Chet Gimel, Hey Gimel. Replied Rabbi Akiva to him, your words are acceptable in the case of a small Me'ilah, but what if he is guilty of a doubtful case of Me'ilah of 100 mana? Is it not better for him that he bring an Asham or to Salem and not bring a doubtful restitution of 100 mana? Rabbi Akiva then agrees with Rabbi Tarfon in the case of a small Me'ilah. If a woman brought a bird captive of doubt, if it became known to her before its neck was nipped that she had definitely given birth, she must make an unconditional katas from the same species from which she brings for an obligation of doubt, she brings for an obligation of certainty. If there was a piece of ordinary meat and a piece of sanctified meat, if he ate some of them and he did not know which of them he ate, he exempt. But Rakiva holds him liable to an asham tuli, and if he ate the second piece, he must bring an unconditional asham. If the person ate the first piece and abandoned it, and another person ate the second piece, this one must bring an asham talu, and one must bring an asham talu. And these are the words of Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Shimon says they both bring an asham. Rabbi Yossi says they two do not bring one asham. If there was a piece of ordinary meat and a piece of caleb, if he ate one of them and he did not know which one of them he ate, he must bring an asham talu. And if he ate the second piece, he must bring a katos. If one person ate the first piece and another came and ate the second piece, this one must bring an asham tuli, and that one must bring an asham tuli. Rav Shimon says they both bring one katos, and Rav Yoshi says two do not bring one katos. Okay. Menachos Yud Gimel Beit. If he said, I take upon myself to bring a mincha offering or a kind of mincha offering, and he brings one. If it said mincha offerings or a kind of mincha offerings, he brings two. If he said, I specify but do not know what I specified, he must bring all of them. If he said, I specified a mincha offering of this issurons, but I do not know what I specified, he must bring a mincha offering of 60 issurons. Rebbe says he must bring all mincha offerings from 1 to 60 issurons. If he said, I take upon myself to bring pieces of wood, he may not bring less than 2 logs. Frankincense, he may bring not less than 2 comets. There are 5 kametzim. One, if he said, I take upon myself to bring a frankincense, he may not bring less than a comets. One who donates a mincha offering must bring a comet of frankincense, and one who offers a comet outside the temple courtyard, he is liable, and the 2 spoonfuls require 2 kametzim. If one said, I take upon myself to bring gold, he may not bring less than a dinner of gold. Silver, he may not bring less than a dinner of silver, and copper, he may not bring less than its equivalent of a manna of silver. I specify, but I do not know what I specified. He must bring until he can say, I did not intend this.
Okay.
And we have Baba Messiah, and we are Chet Lion. If one rents a house to another, the landlord must provide the door, the bolt, the lock, and everything in that is the work of a craftsman. But anything that is not work of a craftsman, a tenant must make for himself. Manure belongs to the landlord and the tenant, but has nothing to do with the refuge of the oven or at the doubtful stove. If one rented a house for a year and he kept a year was declared, it was declared for this tenant. If he rented it to him by the month and a leap year was declared, it was declared for the landlord. It happened in Zipporah that one rented a bathhouse from another for 12 gold dinars for a year at the rate of 1 gold dinar per month. The incident was brought before Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and before Rabbi Yossi, and they said, let them divide the additional month. If one rented a house for another and it collapsed, he is required to provide with him within a house. I'm sorry. If it was small, he may make it large. If it was large, he may not make it small. If it was one, he may not make it two. If it was two, he may not make it one. And he may not decrease the number of windows, nor may add to them except by common agreement. On the first of Adar, they proclaim about the payment of the Shkolim and about Kalayim. On the 5th of Adar, they read the Megillah at the world cities. They commence to repair the roads, the town squares, and the accumulations of water. They attend to all the public needs, and they mark the grades, and they give out. They also go out and inspect the fields for Kalayim. Okay, that was it, I think, right?
Oh, you're right. You started on Shkalim. We didn't finish Pesachim though. Okay, so let's finish Pesachim Yud Ches.
Oh, I thought Shkalim came before Pesachim. Okay, so one may not conclude the feast after eating Pesach for dessert. If one fell asleep, they may eat, and if all, they all may not eat. Rabbi Yoshi says if they dozed, they may eat. If they fell into a deep sleep, they may not eat. The Pesach offering contaminates one's hands. After midnight, pickle and leftover sacrificial meat contaminate the hands. If recited blessing for the blessing offering, he exempts the blessing of the Chagiga offering. But if recited that of the Chagiga offering, he does not accept that one of the Pesach offering. These are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Kiva says this one may not exempt that one, nor does that one exempt this one. Okay.
And
Pesachim, we just say we cut Shkalim.
So now we was just Shkalim. We just did the first Mishna in Shkalim, yeah.
To make sure we weren't going on to something else. Okay, Makshirin.
Yeah.
Okay, Makshirin. Hey, Yud. If one pours from a hot vessel into a hot vessel, or from a cold into a cold, or from a hot into a cold, it is tahor. From a cold into a hot, it is tameh. But Shimon says, even if one pours from a hot into a hot, and the strength of the lower one is greater than that of the upper one, it is tameh. If a woman whose hands were tahor was storing up tameh pot, her hands were perspired. And if her hands were perspired, they're tameh. If her hands were tameh and she was still storing a tahor pot, if her hands were perspired, the pot is tameh. Rabbi Yossi says if they dripped, if someone wiggled grapes in the pan of a scale, is that right? Yeah. If someone weighed grapes in the pan of a scale, the wine in the pan is tahor until he pours it into a container. This is similar to baskets of olives and grapes when they are dripping. If someone took his produce up to the roof on account of insects and dew descends on it, it is not included in the law of water is placed. If he intended for this, it is included in the water of place. If a deaf, mute, deranged person or a minor took a produce, even if he intended for the dew to fall upon the produce, it is not included in the law of water is placed, for they have an act but not an intent. If someone brought that was it. Okay,
we're done.
Okay, I will see you tomorrow. I assume tomorrow you'll probably be pre.
Oh, actually, a very good point. Tomorrow, let me just make sure that I've got this right. Hold on.